Oh boy. Uh, this is what real football looks like. This is real soccer. Real soccer. It's real sports soccer. Sorry. For the Atari 2600. Can I get this video over 5 minutes long? Who knows? Who knows? So this is the oldest game on the list so far. This is 1983. And so Real Sports Soccer, there's actually a collection of real sports games for the Atari. There's this, there's American football, baseball, tennis, might have been one more, darts, tiddlywinks, who the fuck knows. Look, I'm obviously, while I am someone who enjoys a classic video game, my era is the NES onwards. So like that golden age of gaming from the Atari, in the early to mid 80s, that is before my time. And while I can have an appreciation to a degree, to a limit, as an actual thing to play, I find the Atari 2600 in particular borderline unplayable. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Again, I tried to play that whole the Atari 50th anniversary collection, and that thing, while as a package and as a presentation and as a museum piece to the history of Atari, you're 30 seconds into Haunted House, and it's like, I can't play this thing. I cannot play this thing. So I expect Real Sports Soccer is not going to give me a lot to work with, but I'm here for science. I'm here to rank some soccer games. No, football games. I will not fall into that trap. This is football. This is football, not soccer. Yeah, and I guess it's interesting that, like, I guess it's not that interesting that Atari would make a bunch of sports games. Of course you would. But I kind of see it as like the originator, the godfather of like the Actua series or the Virtua series of hey, let's make a bunch of sports games using, like, I mean, an engine is probably like the wrong word to use for what this would be at this time, but you know what I mean. Um, and that's kind of it. That's all I got. I mean, that original Atari 2600, if I recall, the controller is it a joystick with like a singular button? I think. So there's probably not going to be a lot here in terms of depth to the gameplay. But obviously, like this is our main menu. God, what a simpler time! What a beautiful simpler time. I could just look at this for a while, actually. We've got what, 4 frames of animation on that run cycle. I mean, that's something. That's more than some games. Paparazzi doesn't have any animation on those dogs running around. It's all the better for it, in fairness. All right, I should not hold this off for any longer. Let's actually try and decipher this to some degree. Start. What does start do? Start does something. Okay, we're playing. That is how we start Real Sports Soccer. And I had the ball. Oh, actually, there's scrolling on the screen. And there's no goalkeeper, apparently. We, what do we used to call that when we played football when we were younger? When you didn't have a goalkeeper? Or you'd have like a roaming goalkeeper, so whoever was actually in goal that time. Like, what do we call that? I can't remember. But that's how real football should be played. Like, no dedicated goalkeeper. If you're in goal at the time when the shot is taken, you can use your hands. That's how it should be done. Alright. How do we shoot? Start doesn't shoot. Do any of these buttons shoot? Okay, we've got a shot. Yeah. In you go. Okay, I mean, so, like, obviously, what the fuck's going on with the players at the top and the bottom of the screen? And why isn't my opponent moving? Is it thinking that this is meant to be 2-player? Well, I pressed the select button. Why do I have 9 minutes now? Why do I have 5 minutes now? Why does my opponent have 2 goals? What the hell? Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting, right. So when you pass to your opponent, it just automatically assigns you to the next player. That's pretty cool. That's actually not... That feels fairly advanced for 1983. But, you know, it does run into the issue that my opponent is non-existent. There's got to be a way to, like, get... Oh, alright, we're moving. Okay, football. Football's happening. Alright, now I'm losing, I guess. Hell yeah. Well, we got an actual game going on. I can't tackle for shit. Or do you just run into your opponent to tackle them? Yeah, you just have to run into them to get the ball back. God. Why is it every game I'm playing in this stream, the ball, the player, the opposition are infinitely faster than I am? Look at that! I panicked. How the hell do you... Alright, tackling is... I think it is just a case of you just running into them. I think maybe, like, if when you don't have the ball, you're slightly faster when you do have the ball. I appreciate that you can actually do diagonal shots. There's no like sensitivity in terms of how much power you can put into a shot. You just tap it and it just kind of rolls. But I guess there is like a little bit of friction in terms of like how the ball slows down. Why can't I? Ah, do you know what I think it is? Because I'm trying to run up with the middle player, but it's hitting like an invisible wall, and I'm guessing it's like your 3 players are locked to a lane. This is basically like the first. This is League of Legends or you know, any of those types of games. Wow, man, this is way ahead of its time. But I do feel like the way to get to kind of get the ball up the pitch is to just hoof it on the pitch and then run after it. I wish I had more jokes about those lane pushing types of games, but I don't know a fucking thing about them. Ah, oh, so close. Do you know what? I will say there's something to doing a football game in this way. Now, for one thing, you'd want to have like actual goalkeepers because, like, basically this is fucking basketball without hoops. And I'd be really curious to see actually like how some of the other real sports games play. But doing it in this kind of like lane pushing lanes approach. Lane pushing isn't the right fucking term. Is kind of a novel way of doing it. And I imagine it's obviously done because like the AI can't do that much. You couldn't have like players running up and down the pitch, so keeping them locked to the X-axis is not actually a bad idea, but it is also incredibly limiting. What a goal! And with that said, actually, can I hoof it out for a throw in? That's what I want to see. Let's see. No, I can't. No. So there's no throw-ins. It's just literally... Excuse me. It's pure football. Oh, come on, that was on the fucking line. Do you know what, actually? It would be really curious to see how this functions in a two-player game. With the AI that's like, well, with someone who's obviously a little bit smarter than AI. Like, if you've just got two people running into each other constantly with the ball, like, can you even get the ball out? I suppose you can try and kick it up or down as quickly as possible, but like, I can just kind of run into. Feel like I'm the one that kicked over the line now. Whatever. Do you know what? It's obviously the worst thing I'm going to play on this list. Well, actually, I'm still looking at European Soccer League. But as soon as you start playing it, it feels super unplayable. But once you establish that your three players are locked into specific lanes, there is an element of like tactics that is required to kick the ball up or down. And I do think with a second player, it's obviously nothing that you'd ever play more than like one or two. We're not running off the pitch. No, we're just going to run back and forth. All right. I do think that there is something there that in a two-player environment is a laugh for a couple of minutes, for like one game at least anyway. Yeah. And one of the things I like doing, I say as a game developer, my first game is not out yet, but it will be out in a couple of months. I do like going back and playing older games because sometimes, because of restrictions or otherwise, you'll see like different approaches to, like, you would never see a football game in 2024 played like this for obvious reasons. But that's what actually makes this kind of interesting, that it has this lane specific approach to the football. And maybe you could do something like this in 2024 that is a bit more mechanically complex, obviously, but still takes like this fundamental idea of a different approach to football, and makes something that, you know, like could be playable for more than a single round here, basically. All right, I am pleasantly surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be, because again, you know, Konami Soccer was actually pretty playable, but this, maybe I'm just trying to kind of go into these with as open a mind as possible, and my mind is maybe a little bit too open. Who knows? But all right, RealSports Soccer, I see you. I see you. Now, realistically, he says, because I was just kind of fixing to come into this and just go, well, obviously it's going bottom of the list, and that's that. But man, I've really got something against European Super League. I think it's just the principle that, like, it's a game from 2001. And yeah, obviously, like, the early adoption of 3D was a bit weird and janky, but even fucking Virtua Striker is so good. Sorry, Crimson. I think you're staying bottom of the list. I think Fever Pitch Soccer, it just feels like a really bad attempt at those isometric football games, like those early FIFA games. And I have such an affinity for that era of football games that the more I think about it, I think the more I'm just kind of like overall offended by Fever Pitch Soccer and how mundane it is. And then by proxy, like Mia Hamm Soccer 64 is just, I already can't. The only thing that is notable about that game is the fact that it uses female soccer players, and it's a female-fronted like soccer game, and I think that's pretty cool. And I can say soccer in that context because it is an American release only. So I'm as stunned as anyone else. I'm gonna put RealSports Soccer above those three at least. Then it comes to River City Soccer Hooligans, which is a bad game in terms of its gameplay, but it's fucking mental for everything else. And they're kind of actually on a similar wavelength or similar kind of path in terms of like where the gameplay is or not is. Probably because River City Soccer Hooligans reminds me of Shaolin Soccer, and it does have those special attacks. But then I guess, like, if I think about it, I don't think I would ever go back and play a game of River City Soccer Hooligans again, because I think the gameplay is, and also because it does the be a pro thing of giving you only one player to work with, and that I think is actually going to be a kicker for it for quite a lot of the time when I'm trying to decide on future games we're playing. That's always going to be the kicker for it. So I think I would put Real Sports Soccer above it, and then no higher than that, because if I think about this in terms of like super low 1-bit, 2-bit, 8-bit era games, actually no, the Tengen would even be lower than that. Tengen World Cup Soccer is functionally like a football game, where this is kind of adjacent to football, but it's not really. But it is still more playable than River City Soccer Hooligans. So I am as shocked as anyone else when I say that for at least a very short period of time, Real Sports Soccer has made it into the top 10. Who would have thunk it? Yeah. But I'm not going to. But I do have an overwhelming urge to go and have a look at some of those other Real Sports games and see, like, do they take, because what the hell does the AI look like in a Real Sports tennis game? Or what the hell does the fucking AI look like in American football attempts at this type of game? That I think would be really interesting to see. Because I'm imagining they're having to do compromises to like have enough players on the pitch to make it feel like. But again, with like tennis, how would they do that? I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little bit of research to keep myself entertained for an evening. But yeah, would you look at that? Real Sports Soccer, the 9th position. I guess really the question's going to be is like, at some point, am I going to find something worse than European Soccer League? I feel like, off the top of my head, it's going to come down to, at some point, do I play The Mission? Which uses football and football players, but it's not technically a football game. Because that immediately will be worse than European Soccer League. And then, Chris Kamara Street Soccer, which I've never actually played. But, it's Chris Kamara Street Soccer. We'll see. But we'll leave it there for now for this particular game. If you're still watching the stream, stick around. Next up, we got Sega Worldwide Soccer 97. But for this video, thank you very much. Yeah, Real Sports Soccer. Who would have thunk it? Wild.